This happened in 25th of December, 2005 in Pasadena. We were on our freshman year in college. Camping was much more prominent back then. It was almost a weekly routine for myself and my two buddies, Christine and Jennifer. We were the best trio you would come across. We even stayed together in the college apartment. We would normally go camping at night in this dark, gloomy forest behind our campus because we have always been these three adventurous girls. Even people not from our college can enter the forest from any direction as it was not fenced. Usually, there is always more tents surrounding you. So, it was not all scary. If you are lucky, you may even get to spot some wild rabbits. So, one night we end up camping. Christine set up the fire, and Jennifer set up the tent. I was the lazier one, just procrastinating on my phone. The sky was already conquered by clouds, and the moon has disappeared. It was pretty dark than usual. After the cliché of scary stories, we had dinner. Unusually, the camping area looked pretty deserted. I was only able to spot one tent, that 200 meters away. We thought this may be the perfect time for hide and seek, since there were not many people around to limit the enormous spooky noises we make while doing so. Just before we start, sprinkles of rain covered the field. Now it strikes to me why no one else was here. I honestly wish I had checked the weather earlier. We were one of those trio that would always take photos, wherever we go. This instance was no different. Just as we finished taking our photo, the sprinkles started splashing. I could feel the rain pelting my head. We were left with no choice but to leave the tent here, and hopefully grab it tomorrow. We made sure to not leave any personal belongings behind. I usually like the rain, but I must admit, it got me very annoyed as all our plans were wiped out. Anyway, we reached our rooms, changed the clothes and slept the night. I still remember, it was 5 a.m. in the morning. We were all in deep sleep when we started hearing these loud bangs on our front door. I was honestly creeped to death. I mean, who would get a knock on their door at 5 a.m.? Me and my friends silently played the patience game. After an uncomfortably long silence, I decided to open the door. To my relief, it was the cops. They exclaimed that two girls in their 20s have been murdered in the camping site we were staying. They were from our same college. Just a couple of years older than us. It frightened the life out of me. Apparently, Christine had left her wallet behind, and that is how they were able to track us. You never expect these things to happen around you. This was all too much to digest. They asked us if we knew anything or if we saw someone suspicious. I honestly thought at some point they were suspecting us. That is when it struck me of the photo that we took last night. I hopelessly decided to see if there was anything suspicious in that photo, hoping it would help the cops in their investigation. As I instigated the photo, I was in disbelief. There was no way it could have happened. It felt like I was in a horror movie. There was this 6 feet shadowy, male figure, holding what seems to be a long, curved knife, standing right behind us. It looked like the knife gangsters would hide under their t-shirt. It seemed as if he was trying to hide in the bushes. It was too dark to identify his face. Later that day, we saw the whole thing on the news. What was even more shocking was that the autopsy report confirmed the two girls were murdered at 10 p.m., but I remembered taking those photos at 10:05. Maybe, the figure was hiding there to kill us next. It was a wake-up call that maybe we are not safe after all. I am very thankful we did not play hide and seek that night. If it was not for the rain, something daunting could have happened that night. It still haunts me to think that the killer is still on loose, and that we were meters away from him at one point. We decided never to go camping again. This happened in 15th of October, 1965 in Colorado. Cameras were new to public back then. I was 28 years old at the time, living alone in an old, rugged house. I lived in this part of town everyone knew not to go to, because there were very few houses, and at least 100-meter gap between each of them. I owned a photo studio, but I also enjoyed gambling. I have not been to work ever since my girlfriend Debbie died, in a terrible car accident 4 weeks ago. It felt as if my head was inside a bottle, filled with depression. Me and Debbie were really close, even planning on getting married in 2-3 years of time. To add more burden, this new neck pain was grueling me for about a month now. Out of frustration, I decided to check in a local clinic to see if it was anything serious. Surprisingly, they could not find a thing wrong. To be honest, I was a bit relieved, hoping, if I wait a little longer, it should go away itself. However, the pain only seemed worse, day by day. I finally decided to get back to work, realizing there is not much I can do about Debbie anymore. That same day, I accidentally brought home my oldest camera from studio. I think I must have unknowingly put it in my bag, when Debbie's thoughts were still covering my mind. I placed it on top of this wide television my dad had gotten 5 years ago. I slept the night from a sitting position on my couch, as it was something I personally found comforting. At about 1:30 a.m., I felt a sudden flash surrounding my face. I knew the time because there was this big clock in my house that would glow in dark. It left me with no thought, other than my camera malfunctioning, as it has happened before. I was too tired to get up and give it a check. I honestly wish I had checked it then. That was the last time I recalled the photo being taken, because you would usually forget what happens when you are half asleep. Anyways, the next day I went to work, greeting just one customer for the entire day. That was usual back then. He said he needed the photos by tomorrow. Having forgotten about the photo from last night, I scanned and printed the entire film roll inside the camera. Now, anyone from 60s would know, it usually takes a good 6 to 7 hours to scan and print the photos. That same day, I had to take the photos home because it still needed some refurbishing. It was already 9 by the time I got home. The night was windier than usual. Just as I was having dinner, I caught a photo slipping from the stack I had brought home. I rushed to pick it up, because you do not want the photos getting all dirty before it is fully pampered. It was facing the backside. I picked it up, and slowly turned it. My body froze, unable to utter a single word. I could see Debbie, sitting on top of my shoulders. Her legs wrapped around my neck, and her hands scrolling my face. I could not believe my eyes. That is when it struck me of the flash last night, and that this must be the auto-captured photo. I shivered, as though ice had replaced my spine. I heard my own legs, making a creaky noise like never before. It then came to my conscious, why my neck was hurting all this time. The remains of the story is never to be revealed to anyone. Till the day, it gives me nightmares, just to imagine that she was sitting on my shoulder, for nearly a month, watching my every single movement. I guess people that truly love us, never really leave us. Even after death. This happened in 20th of April, 1987, in Townsville. I was 12 years old at the time. My mom had recently got a new job in Townsville, and so we both had to move there. To be honest, I initially had a twinge of disappointment, since I had to leave all my friends back home. There is still a week left for me to join my new school. 2 weeks in and it was Halloween. I was low-spirited to go trick-or-treat alone. Anyway, I decided to go dressing as Frankenstein and promised my mom that I would be back in an hour. Just as I leave my house, this new kid appears out of nowhere and asks me, "Do you want to go together?" I was hesitant at first, but decided to join him, as I realized this could be my first chance at making friends around neighborhood. I honestly wish I had not made that decision. He looked about the same height as me, wearing a black hockey mask, covering himself with a black robe. He introduced himself as Elvis. Knocking on every single house, one by one, we sure got a lot of candies. We even signed up for this fun event where we get free photos of ourselves. We had our photos taken together as a remembrance of our first meeting. The photos would be sent to our address we used to sign up with within 5 working days. He seemed very friendly. I thought I had found my perfect, dream friend. As it started getting more and more darker, everyone started heading home. So I decided to leave as well. However, he insisted that I should stay a little longer, and perhaps come to his house, which is 2 streets away. I denied it, as it was already too late, and that my mom would be worried. He gave his address anyway, and suggested that I should perhaps come some other time. I thanked him for the invitation, and headed home. I honestly felt super comfortable around him. 3 days later, I thought I should check upon him to see if this new friendship was going any further. The address was 5 minutes away in Google Maps. As I arrived, I stumbled upon an old, 2-story, lifeless house. The windows were all shattered, no front door. It looked like the place of tears and fright. Anyone that walks into this place never walks back out. I asked a passing pedestrian what had happened here. Apparently, 12 years ago, a tragic fire accident had taken place in this house, taking the lives of 3 innocent people. A husband, his wife, and their 12-year-old son. He could not recall their names though. I quickly left the place, thinking some kid tried to pull a scary prank on me because it was Halloween night. It sure did succeed. 2 days forward, my mom found my Halloween photo in the letter box. I had almost forgotten about them. I picked the letter and slowly opened the cover. As my eyes circled the photo, I stopped with a gasp. My hands shaking. It was me, just me. It was just me in the photo. Elvis was not there. I could feel my sweat dripping down my forehead. It looked like the ending of a horror movie. I quickly ran and grabbed my mom's hand as I felt as if someone was watching me read the photo. I had not shared this with my mom though. Ever since that instance, I have had this thirst of knowledge to find out that maybe my new friend was really the 12-year-old that had died in the fire accident. Strange to think, I never got a look at his face since the hockey mask was covering it. It still makes me paranoid just to imagine what could have happened if I did end up going to his house on the Halloween night. Maybe I would not have walked back out. I still feel as every time I use that street, someone watches me from that house.